And I think really the reason why this is happening is because the US, as we know, has put this deal in front of the Russians weeks ago, and it seems that the Russians aren't biting on it. And so the question, I think what's trying to happen here is that the White House are hoping they can push Russia by going public into maybe agreeing to this, but also trying to show to the American public that they are doing something.
This is the man nicknamed the Merchant of Death. Convicted arms trafficker Viktor Bout, currently serving a 25-year sentence in the United States. The Biden administration has offered to return him as part of a proposed deal for 2 Americans the United States says are wrongfully detained in Russia.
After 5 months detained in Russia, we expect to hear from Brittany Griner for the first time. Griner, a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, was visiting Russia to play basketball in the off-season when she was arrested in mid-February at a Moscow airport after vape canisters containing cannabis oil were found in her luggage. Griner has pled guilty, but insists it was a mistake, saying she accidentally packed it when traveling.
Bringing people home. Bringing Brittany home, bringing Paul home.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken said it, and many Americans still await the conclusion to this saga.
Bout is a former Soviet military officer who's been accused of using front companies to funnel Soviet-era weapons into conflict zones like Afghanistan, Liberia, and Sierra Leone, even working with U.S. government contractors in Iraq.
The U.S. clearly is comfortable telling this to the public. Griner has been held since mid-February, right before Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine. As of this taping, Blinken said the U.S. and Russia had communicated repeatedly and directly on the proposal, and that he expected to raise it soon directly with Russia's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov. Maria Zakharova, the foreign ministry's spokeswoman, said that while negotiations were ongoing, no concrete result has been achieved. Trading Bout for Whelan and WNBA star Griner received the backing of President Joe Biden after being under discussion since earlier this year. Biden's support for the swap overrides opposition from the DOJ, which is generally against prisoner trades. Bout, per NPR, is a 55-year-old Russian, was the world's most notorious arms dealer before a U.S. court convicted him in 2011 and sent him to a prison in Illinois. Trained by the Soviet military as a linguist, Bout began acquiring Soviet military transport planes and loaded them up with weapons. The U.S. says he sold them all over the world, though primarily in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. Bout always denied he was selling weapons, claiming he was flying flowers and frozen chickens to some of the world's most violent places. He was always hard to pin down, but he lived openly in Moscow, traveled widely, occasionally spoke to reporters, and seemed to welcome at least some of the attention. Despite facing international sanctions and threats of arrest, Bout managed to stay a step ahead of law enforcement until 2008, when he was captured in a sting operation in Thailand, organized by the U.S. DEA. The Thais extradited Bout to the U.S. 2 years later, where he was charged with conspiring to kill Americans. He was convicted in a Manhattan court in 2011 and is a little less than halfway through his 25-year sentence at a prison in Marion, Illinois. At trial in a Russian court, Griner said in her testimony that besides the poor translation at the airport, she received no explanation of her rights or access to a lawyer during the initial hours of her detention. She said she used a translation app on her phone to communicate with a customs officer. The AP reported at one point in her testimony, her tone turned emotional. As she said, she has always followed the rules and tried to never let down her team. My career is my whole life, she said. I dedicated everything, time, my body, time away from my family. I spent 6 months out of the year away from everybody and with a huge time difference. She also said, I still don't understand to this day how they ended up in my bags, adding that she was aware of the Russian law outlawing cannabis oil and that she had not intended to break it. I didn't have any intent to use or keep in my possession any substance that is prohibited in Russia, Griner said, adding that she understood the charges against her. There is, though, as we ponder, no doubt in my mind personally, the full court press that was put on by the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, the commissioner of the WNBA, Kathy Engelbert, no doubt in my mind, the Gumakeys, Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, the WNBA All-Star Game, Brittney Griner's wife, many other players in the NBA, countless in the WNBA, athletes across various sports, putting the pressure on for them to get a deal done, because the longer that this went, the worse it would have gotten for this administration. The longer this was carried out, the worse it would have got for this administration. I mean, if you remember in the very beginning, Lisa Leslie gave an interview on I Am Athlete, the show with Brandon Marshall and company. And she said they were instructed by the U.S. government to remain silent. That clearly did not work. They expressed themselves, they put the pressure on, and now it seems like someone they did not want to offer up could potentially be in a prisoner swap in a 2-for-1 with Paul Whelan and Brittney Griner finally coming home. But the fact is, they both have been there way too long, and it's time.